All right, you see them? Right over there. The Millers. Of course, I didn't know their names at the time. To me, they were just a family. A dad, a mom, 2 kids, trying to get that perfect family photo in the middle of a perfect park on a perfect day. And then there was me, totally oblivious, head in the clouds, about to walk right through the middle of their shot. The footage slows down. We see the creator looking at his phone. Completely unaware, he walks directly between the family and their camera right as the flash goes off. He stops, blinks, a look of pure horror dawning on his face. The family stares, frozen. This was supposed to be a funny throwaway clip, a quick fail video for my Instagram stories. A moment of peak social awkwardness that I'd cringe about for a week and then totally forget. What I didn't know was that this one single embarrassing photo would lead to me being adopted by this family for the rest of the day. This is the story of how a mortifying photobomb turned into one of the most genuine and unexpected connections I've ever had, and it all started with me wanting the ground to open up and swallow me whole. Let's rewind about 30 seconds. Before the incident, before I became the unintentional star of the Miller family portrait. It was one of those Saturdays where the sun is out, the world is buzzing, and you feel like you should be doing something, but you have no idea what. I was wandering through Meadowbrook Park, a place I've been 1,000 times, but that day it felt lonelier. It's weird, right? We're more connected than ever, but it's so easy to feel disconnected. You scroll through feeds of other people's perfect moments, their family trips, their friend groups, and you feel this pressure to have your own highlight reel. But sometimes you're just a guy walking alone in a park, feeling like an extra in everyone else's movie. I was trying to reply to a text. Head down, completely absorbed in that tiny screen that promises connection, but usually just delivers distraction. And that's when it happened. The world went from the soft glow of my phone to a sudden, blinding flash. I looked up, confused, like a deer in headlights, and there they were, a family, perfectly posed. The dad, David, with his arm around the mom, Sarah. Their son, Leo, was making a goofy face, and their daughter, Mia, was mid-giggle. And I was standing directly in the crossfire. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. My brain did a frantic scan of my options. Option A, pretend it didn't happen and just keep walking. Too late for that. Option B, bolt. Cowardly, but tempting. Option C, face the music. My face was on fire. I'm sure I was a shade of red that could rival a stop sign. "Oh my God," I stammered, my voice cracking. "I am so sorry." I started backing away, hands up like I'd just committed a felony. "I was on my phone. I didn't see you. I completely ruined your picture. I am so sorry." David, the dad, blinked a couple of times. Then a slow smile spread across his face. It wasn't a mocking smile. It was one of pure amusement. "Ruined it? Buddy, I think you just made it legendary." Sarah, the mom, let out a laugh. A warm, real sound, that just cut right through my embarrassment. Don't worry about it. Honestly, the look on your face was priceless. I fumbled for more words, wanting to apologize again, to somehow undo the last 10 seconds. I can't believe I did that. I was just distracted. Please let me get out of your way so you can take another one. This is normally where the story ends, right? A polite laugh, an awkward retreat, and a funny memory for them. But this time was different. As I started to shuffle away, the little boy, Leo, piped up. No, wait. Dad, that was the best one. Can we keep him? I froze. Keep me? Like a stray puppy? The absurdity of it made me laugh, a nervous, high-pitched sound. David chuckled and ruffled Leo's hair. I don't think we can keep him, buddy. But he has a point. He looked from me to Sarah with a playful glint in his eye. The photo's probably hilarious, but we should probably get one without a surprise stranger in it. He turned back to me. What's your name? It's Alex, I said, my voice still shaky. Well, Alex, he said, extending a hand. I'm David. This is my wife, Sarah, and our two little chaos agents, Leo and Mia. I shook his hand. It was a firm, friendly grip. Sarah gave me a kind wave. Mia hid shyly behind her mom's leg, while Leo just grinned at me like I was the most interesting thing he'd seen all day. The feeling of wanting to disappear was slowly being replaced by a different kind of awkwardness. The kind that feels like it's on the edge of something new. All right, family, David announced. Let's try this again. Same poses, but this time let's try to look like we don't see a ghost. They got back into position, and I took about 20 giant steps back, making sure I was out of the way. I felt like I owed it to them to wait until they got their shot before I slinked away. So I stood there, hands in my pockets, feeling like a weird voyeur to their family moment. They took another photo, then another. It's a funny thing, watching a family from the outside. You see the little dynamics, the way Sarah would gently fix Mia's hair, the way David would whisper something in Leo's ear to make him laugh. It was a small, intimate performance of their life together, and I was the lone, strange audience member. That pang of loneliness I'd felt earlier came back, but this time it was mixed with something else, a warmth, an appreciation for the scene in front of me. After a few more tries, David waved me over. All right, Alex, he called out. I think we got it, but now we have a serious debate. I walked over cautiously, half expecting a bill for emotional damages. Sarah was scrolling through the pictures on the camera screen. She stopped on one and tilted it towards me. It was the picture. There they were, the perfect family, and there I was, smack in the middle. My eyes were wide, mouth slightly open, a portrait of pure bewilderment. It was, without a doubt, the most awkward and hilarious photo I had ever seen. Told you, David said, beaming. Legendary. This, Sarah said, laughing, is going on the Christmas card 100%. See? Leo shouted. He made it better. I couldn't help but laugh with them. Seeing the photo somehow made it all okay. Wow, I said, shaking my head. That's something. I look like I've just seen a spaceship land. It's my favorite, Mia said softly, finally peeking out from behind her mom. And then the conversation took a turn I never could have predicted. Sarah just asked, "So, Alex, what brings you to the park today? Meeting friends?" "Oh, no," I replied, feeling a little self-conscious. "Just walking, getting out of the house, you know." The classic non-answer of someone with no plans. David and Sarah exchanged a quick look. It wasn't pity, but understanding. "Well," David said, "we were just about to unpack our picnic. We always bring way too much food. Sarah's an overpacker." "I am not," she retorted playfully. "I am a prepared for all possibilities packer." "There's a difference." "Right," David chuckled. "Well, her preparedness means we have enough sandwiches to feed a small army. And since you're now an official part of our family's photographic history, it seems only right that you join us." I was floored. My brain just short-circuited. They were inviting me? A complete stranger who just blundered into their life? The social anxiety in me screamed, "No, thank them and run. This is weird. You're being weird." We crave connection, but we're terrified of the vulnerability it takes. "Oh no, I couldn't," I said, way too quickly. "I wouldn't want to intrude on your family day." Sarah stepped forward, her expression so open and sincere it was disarming. "It's not an intrusion if you're invited. Please, it would be fun. It would. Besides," she added, lowering her voice, "if you don't help us, I'm going to have to listen to David complain about carrying all this food back to the car." Leo grabbed my hand. "Please?" he begged, looking up at me with that wide-eyed sincerity only a kid can pull off. "We have chocolate chip cookies." And that was it. The genuine warmth from the parents and a kid bribing me with cookies. How do you say no to that? Every instinct was telling me to leave. But another, quieter part of me, the part that felt so disconnected just minutes earlier, was whispering, "Say yes, just this once. Say yes." "Okay," I heard myself say, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Okay, I'd love to." The happiness on their faces was immediate and real, as if I was the one doing them a favor. Little did I know this simple yes was the key that would unlock the rest of my day. Joining a family's picnic is a surreal experience. It's like being dropped into the middle of a movie you haven't seen the beginning of. There's a history and a rhythm you're not a part of. Sarah unfurled a massive blanket and, just as she'd promised, produced a comical amount of food. Sandwiches, fruit salad, chips, and of course, a tin of homemade chocolate chip cookies. The conversation started with the usual small talk. "So what do you do, Alex?" "I'm a graphic designer." "Oh, cool." But with kids, it never stays small talk for long. They don't have a filter. They just have curiosity. "Why were you walking all by yourself?" Leo asked, his mouth full of chips. Sarah gently nudged him. "Leo, that's not a polite question." "No, it's okay," I said, surprised at my own honesty. Sometimes I just like to walk and think. And sometimes, I guess, I'm just by myself. David nodded. "I get that. Before these two, he gestured at the kids, I used to have a lot more thinking time. Now my thinking time is just trying to remember where I left my keys. We all laughed and the tension just vanished. We talked about movies, the best pizza in town, a funny cat video Mia had seen. It was so normal. I wasn't the weird stranger anymore. I was just Alex, a guy eating a sandwich in a park. I learned David was an architect and Sarah was a middle school English teacher. Leo was obsessed with space, and Mia loved to draw. Soon, I was sharing more than just my job title. I told them about a passion project of mine, a series of illustrations based on old folk tales. Mia's eyes lit up. Can I see? I pulled out my phone and showed her a few. She was captivated. Sarah and David looked over her shoulder. Wow, Alex, these are incredible, Sarah said. You have a real gift. Feeling that validation from them, from people I'd met less than an hour ago, was unexpectedly powerful. It felt pure, not burdened by history or obligation. The interrogation, as I jokingly called it in my head, continued. Do you have a brother or a sister? Leo asked. An older sister, I said. Do you have a dog? Mia whispered. I wish, I replied. With each question, I could feel myself being woven into the fabric of their afternoon. They weren't just being polite, they were genuinely curious. I learned about the time Leo broke his arm trying to fly off a slide, and the story of how David and Sarah met in college. At one point, Sarah looked at me thoughtfully. You know, it's funny, she said. We're always telling our kids not to talk to strangers. And here we are. David laughed. Well, I think we can make an exception when the stranger photobombs you with such style. It's like an audition. I smiled. I'm glad I passed. But Sarah's comment stuck with me. We teach our kids to be cautious, to build walls for safety, and for good reason. But sometimes those walls can become a prison. The Millers chose openness over suspicion. They looked at a weird, awkward situation and saw an opportunity for a story. As the picnic wound down, I felt a little sad. Soon the bubble would pop. I'd go back to being Alex, the guy walking alone. But then Leo, the catalyst for this whole thing, chased a frisbee near a small creek. Dad, can we go look for frogs? He yelled. Sure, buddy, David called back. Then he turned to me. You a fan of frogs, Alex? Before my anxious brain could even cook up an exit strategy, I just answered honestly. I haven't looked for frogs since I was Leo's age. Well then, David said with a grin, getting to his feet. You're long overdue. There's a certain magic to seeing the world through a kid's eyes. To an adult, a creek is just a creek. But for Leo and Mia, the muddy banks were a whole new universe. And for the next hour, I got to live in that universe. You have to be really quiet, Leo whispered, his face a mask of intense concentration. And you have to think like a frog. Think like a frog, I repeated seriously. Got it. What do frogs think about? Flies, he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. And jumping. The four of us crept along the water's edge. David showed me the technique. Cup your hands, move slowly, aim for where the frog is going to be. Mia wasn't into catching them. She had her sketchbook out, documenting the super fast dragonflies. I was completely absorbed. The loneliness I felt earlier had just evaporated, replaced by the smell of mud and the thrill of the hunt. I found myself really laughing as Leo dove for a frog and came up with a fistful of mud. I even tried to catch one myself. I saw a big bullfrog, got down on my hands and knees, and lunged. I completely missed, slapping the water and getting a face full of mud for my efforts. And I didn't care at all. I just sat on the muddy bank and laughed. In that moment, covered in mud, I felt more myself than I had all day. I had let go of worrying about what I looked like or what they thought of me. We weren't a family and a stranger anymore. We were just four people looking for frogs. As we walked back, Sarah handed me a water bottle. Looks like the creek claimed a victim. She smiled. A noble sacrifice, I said, wiping my face. We sat back on the blanket as the sun got a little lower. The energy was calmer now. David and I started talking again, but this time it was deeper. I told him about the pressures of creative work, and he told me about the responsibility of being an architect and a father. It's all about the foundation, he said, looking at his kids. Whether you're building a house or raising a family, if the foundation isn't strong, everything else is just decoration. It really resonated with me. We spend so much time on the decorations, the job titles, the online personas, that we forget to check the foundation of our own happiness. That's what today feels like, I admitted, like checking the foundation. It's easy to forget how important simple, real-life connection is. Sarah, who had been listening, added, I think that's why we invited you to stay. It felt real. In a world that feels so staged, a moment of genuine, unplanned humanity is something to hold on to. That's what this was, a powerful dose of humanity. I knew my time with them was ending, but once again, the Millers had other plans. As Sarah started packing up, David turned to me. So, Alex, he began, with that casual tone I was starting to recognize. What are you doing for dinner? What are you doing for dinner? The question just hung in the air. A picnic is one thing. Public space, low stakes, but dinner. Dinner is an invitation into a home, into their world. My brain went into overdrive. They can't be serious. They're just being polite. I have to say no. But I looked at their faces. They weren't just being polite. We're just doing a barbecue in the backyard, David continued, sensing my hesitation. Burgers, hot dogs, nothing fancy. But we'd love for you to come. It feels like the day isn't over yet. You'd have to help me convince Sarah to let me grill, though, he added with a wink. She's a control freak about the grill. I am not, she laughed. I'm a preventer of burnt hockey pucks. They were inviting me into their jokes, their life. At that point, saying no would have been more awkward than saying yes. I I don't know what to say, I stammered. Are you sure? Of course we're sure, Leo shouted. You have to come. You haven't seen my space posters yet. How do you say no to that? You don't? Okay, I said, a huge smile finally breaking through my shock. Yes, I'd love to. I followed their minivan to their house, feeling like I was in a dream. It was a lovely home on a quiet street, complete with a tire swing. Walking inside felt like crossing a final threshold. It smelled like a family home, a mix of laundry detergent and something cooking. Family photos lined the walls, and I knew my own surprised face was on a memory card, about to join this gallery of moments. The evening was a beautiful, chaotic blur. Leo showed me his glow-in-the-dark stars. Mia gave me a drawing of the super-fast dragonfly, which I promised to frame, and I meant it. I found myself in the kitchen chopping vegetables with Sarah, talking about books. It felt so natural I had to keep reminding myself we'd met just 5 hours ago. Then I was in the backyard with David at the grill as the sun set. We just talked. About the price of concert tickets. About a terrible movie we'd both seen. About nothing and everything. The climax of the day wasn't one big thing, but 100 small things. It was sitting at their dinner table, passing the ketchup to Leo, laughing as Mia tried to feed the dog. I wasn't a guest or a stranger. I was just there, a temporary part of their ecosystem. After dinner, Sarah brought out a photo album, sharing their history with me, page by page. And as I sat on their couch, looking at the story of their life, it hit me. Life isn't some grand, planned-out story. It's a collection of tiny, beautiful, accidental moments. Sometimes a stranger walks through the frame and turns a simple moment into a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. The end of the night arrived quietly. The kids were worn out, Mia already asleep on the couch. The magic of the day was settling into the gentle, ordinary rhythm of a family winding down. Well, I said, standing up, I should probably let you guys get these two to bed. I can't thank you enough for everything. Today was amazing. We should be thanking you, David said, walking me to the door. You turned a standard Saturday into an adventure. It was really lovely to meet you, Alex, Sarah said from the couch. At the door, we did that clumsy goodbye dance, shake hands, hug. We settled on a warm handshake from David that turned into a one-armed hug. Drive safe, he said. And don't photobomb anyone on the way home, Sarah added, her eyes twinkling. It was the perfect closing line. But before I could leave, David said, Oh, wait, one more thing. He came back with the camera from the park. The day started with a photo, he said, putting an arm around my shoulder. It has to end with one. Leo, get over here. Leo scrambled over. Sarah set the timer and rushed to squeeze in next to David. There we were, a messy, happy huddle in their hallway. The camera flashed. This time, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't awkward. I was smiling. A real, from-the-gut smile. In the first photo, I was an accident. In this one, I was a part of it. Driving home through the quiet streets, The day played over in my mind. It felt both impossibly real and like a complete fantasy. I started the day feeling alone. I was ending it feeling so full of connection, I thought I might burst. The world didn't feel so lonely anymore. A few days later, an email popped up. The subject, the Miller family and Alex photos. I opened the first one. There I was, mouth agape, the perfect picture of confusion. I laughed out loud. Then I opened the second one, the one from the hallway. We looked like we'd known each other for years. We looked like family, not by blood, but by a shared, beautiful, random day. So what's the point of this story? For me, it became a lesson. In a time where we try to make our lives look perfect, this day was a tribute to the beauty of imperfection. It was about the magic of the unscripted moment. The pain of modern loneliness is real, but maybe the cure is hidden in the moments we try so hard to avoid. The awkward silences, the embarrassing mistakes we're all so afraid of intruding, of being a burden. But what if the other person is just as hungry for connection as we are? What if they're just waiting for someone to accidentally walk into their frame? I still have days where I feel lonely. But now, I have the memory of this day. And I have both photos. One reminds me that life is messy. The other reminds me that inside that mess, there's an incredible capacity for kindness and connection. The Millers didn't just invite me to a picnic. They invited me to be human with them. They reminded me of a fundamental truth. We're all just walking each other home. Sometimes we just get to share a meal along the way. What if strangers are just family you haven't met yet? What if, just for a day, you said yes to the unexpected? You might just find yourself with a new photo for the album, a new story to tell, and a renewed faith in the goodness of people. You might just find yourself, even for a moment, adopted. Thank you for being a part of this story with me. If you've ever had an unexpected, wholesome encounter with a stranger, I would be genuinely honored if you shared your story in the comments. We need more of these stories in the world. And if you want to come along for more adventures in human connection, please consider subscribing. It means the world. Be good to each other out there.